It's galaxy season, and that means no more nebulae, no more dark dust lanes in the Milky Way or anything. It just means small targets, galaxies, and I would say that I have the worst possible setup in terms for high-end deep sky setups that you can use or choose for deep sky photography, because I have the Skywatcher SP100 with me here. It is reduced with a 0.75 reducer to 412 millimeters, and I'm using a almost full frame camera on this telescope, so I have a really wide field of view that is really mostly suited for nebulae photography and some of the bigger targets inside the Milky Way, but not for galaxies. But I would say we just figure out what we can do. I mean, I've shot some nice images with this exact setup in the past, and it works out quite well, and I have a pretty cool target for tonight that I will show you later on. So I would say let's stop talking too much and get right into it. The telescope I'm using, as you can see here, is the legendary Skywatcher SP100. I've been using this telescope for the past 4 years, I believe, and I've shot some of my best images with the scope. I've used this for 2 years in a remote observatory in Spain, and I love this telescope, but as I've mentioned, it's not very suitable for galaxies, and especially with my reducer that I've attached to the scope that reduces it to 412 millimeters. It's not the best combination, but as you could maybe see in the final image, I mean, I haven't seen the final image yet, but I think that the scope is still capable of capturing some nice images. For the past 2 years, I've been using this camera, which now permanently lives on my telescope, and it's a quite enormous camera, as you can see. It's a relic from the past almost, because it's quite old, but it's still very good and was my favorite camera for a very long time, and still is somewhat, I would say. It's the Moravian G3 16200 Mark II, and it's a monochrome CCD camera, so the predecessor technology of CMOS, and it's still quite good. I mean, CMOS is of course better. It has much more advantages, maybe a few disadvantages if you are going into the specifics, but nevertheless I would say that this technology is still usable for today, and you can see some of the shots that I've captured with this camera now, and I would say it's still usable and it should perform quite nice for this image. I think some of you guys know exactly what will happen now. It's a tradition on this channel here, and especially for cold nights, it's tea time. It's one of the only things that keeps us astrophotographers alive. It's a hot drink, be it a coffee, if you're a coffee guy. Personally, I'm a tea guy, and there's almost nothing better than having a hot, fresh tea when it's freezing outside. The temperatures for tonight is not so bad. I think we are just around freezing, but when you're not moving and you're not hiking for hours, or just moving in general, it's nice to have some nice warm clothes and some hot tea. So what am I even capturing tonight? So for the past few nights and also tonight, I'm capturing the Whale Galaxy, which is one of the only few big galaxies in the night sky, at least here in the northern hemisphere, that I can capture quite nicely with this telescope. And there are actually two galaxies in my field of view. So we have the Whale Galaxy, and also right next to it NGC 4657, also known as the Crowbar Galaxy, if I remember correctly. And these two galaxies are really awesome. They look quite nice. They also have a quite interesting shape, and also when you expose long enough, you can see a small connection between these two galaxies, as you can see in this image from Fabian Neyer. And I'm not sure if I can make this visible with my exposure time. I'm not 100% sure how much exposure time I have, because I've captured this over multiple nights and I haven't really looked at the data, because I have all the data on my mini PC stored on the telescope, so I first have to transfer all the images. But I would say I have about 25 hours of exposure time in LRGB, mostly luminance for that matter, and I'm really interested to see how deep I can go with this exposure. But yeah, overall, I think it's going to be a quite interesting image to look at. So talking a bit more about gear again, I just mentioned my mini PC on the telescope, and if you're not using an Acer Air or something similar, I think there's the Stellarmate, or there's so many different devices now that are just mini PCs, and you can just connect all your equipment, the camera, telescope, focuser, mount, and all these things to it. And I'm still running on Windows, so I want to use Nina as my imaging software, and I really can't recommend enough to get just a small mini PC. In my case, it's the Mealy Quieter 3C. I think there is a 4C or even a 5C out now, because they update this like every year, I believe. And these mini PCs, they're super power efficient. I think mine draws about 6 or 7 watts just idling and managing all the software in the background. And with my battery here, I can have this on all night. And the cool thing is, I can just use my mobile phone and its hotspot to get a Wi-Fi connection between both devices. I think there's a better way. I haven't really figured out I haven't tried to play around with the hotspot on the mini PC itself, because mini PCs with Wi-Fi can also create a local hotspot. But the problem is that on Windows, at least with my current knowledge, every time you don't have a internet connection with your mini PC, the Wi-Fi or the hotspot turns off, and therefore there's no more connection. So I have to use my mobile phone to create a hotspot and then connect via this connection. But it still works perfectly fine in most cases. Sometimes the connection is a bit weird, and sometimes it doesn't even want to connect. But it's a quite nice tip on the side. Here are a few interesting facts about NGC 4631, better known as the Whale Galaxy. It lies around 25 light years away from Earth and gets its name from its shape, because from our point of view it really does look a bit like a giant whale floating through space. The Whale Galaxy is seen edge-on, which means we are looking at it from the side instead from above. That gives us this long, thin profile that makes all the dust lanes and structures stand out really nicely. But what makes this galaxy especially interesting is that it's not completely alone. It has interacted with nearby galaxies over a very long time, and those gravitational forces have started to pull material around its space. This is why deep images can reveal an extremely faint tidal stream, basically a huge, dim bridge of stars stretching through the darkness, as I've mentioned before. This is the kind of detail you only see with long exposure times and dark skies, because it is way too faint to show up in a quick single image. So when you capture something like this, you're not just photographing a galaxy, you're capturing evidence of how galaxies change, interact, and slowly reshape each other over billions of years. I really have to say, every single time when we enter galaxy season, and that starts around, let's say, the beginning of March and goes until the end of May, I get very frustrated, and sometimes even I would call it an astro depression. Don't get me wrong, it's nothing serious or so, but just the frustration of not having a proper galaxy telescope. And I mean, there's no such thing as a galaxy scope, but just a telescope with more focal length, let's say above 1 meter, is quite frustrating that I don't have this. I mean, of course, I can just go back here to the observatory and use the 150 millimeter refractor with 1200 millimeters, or even the 15-inch Newton that we are currently setting up. But it's something different when you're using like the equipment from an observatory, that it's not your own, and I really want to change it this year. So my plan is to get a 10-inch GSO RC telescope, the truss tube version, and I think it's the perfect dream telescope for me, because it combines everything that I want and that I need. It has a lot of focal length, so the native focal length is 2 meters and at f8, so that's quite slow, but of course you get a lot of reach. But the good thing is, I have a very good image trainer. I have a nice camera, I have a nice robotic focuser, I have a reducer inside the focuser. And the cool thing is, this reducer is also suited for RC telescopes. So I can just remove everything here, the entire image train, and just bolt it straight to the RC, and it should work perfectly fine. And with this reducer, I get 1500 millimeters of focal length on the RC telescope at f6, which is not that bad. I mean, f4 to f6, yeah, it's a little bit more than one stop of light, so twice the exposure time is needed for a similar result. But to be honest, I'm more than fine with that. And yeah, so that's just the idea that I have in mind, and I really want to get the scope in the future. So stay tuned for future updates, and maybe in the next few months you will see me with a bigger telescope. Well guys, we have this typical situation now where there are unexpected high clouds. I mean, there were some clouds towards the end of the night forecasted, but I wouldn't say it's the end of the night. So, well, I think without wasting too much time, I will just end this night for me now and pack up, because my battery is also dying. I think I have about 30% left, and when we have more and more high clouds now, I think it's not very worth to just stay here and continue. So let's end this sequence here, park the telescope, and then see how the image turns out in the end when I get home and stack the images. And now everything gets parked. Okay, this is the wrong parking position. I'm not sure why this parking position is set, but the sequence is now over and I can start packing up. That's my parking position. Can close the flat panel. Okay, perfect. Oh wow, now we are getting some serious clouds. Okay, maybe it was a good decision that I will end the night here. I will just check when these clouds start rolling, because for the last 3 hours I slept in the car and didn't really check for clouds. Okay, so it seems like half an hour ago. So just when I woke up and checked for the images. Well, I call this perfect timing. Like unlucky, but also perfect timing. Alright, so I can start packing up. Good. Over the last 4 nights I kept my telescope pointed at the whale galaxy. Despite some technical issues, especially during the first nights and a few unexpected clouds, I still managed to capture nearly 20 hours of exposure time. The amount of detail I was able to bring out of the data was honestly incredible. Right after the initial stacked image, even before major processing, I could see the tidal stream. And even with the relatively short focal length of just 412mm, there is still an impressive amount of detail visible in these galaxies. You can even find many faint background galaxies throughout the image. If you'd like to support me on this journey, feel free to check out my Patreon. By doing that, you would also be helping to fund my slightly crazy idea of buying this 10-inch RC telescope. And I also want to mention that I've just released my own Photoshop plugin, which you can use for post-processing. So if you want, you can head over to my website and check it out. I wish you clear skies and the best of luck with your next adventure. Oh, this telescope is actually heavier than it looks.